Hi, people.
Right. And we are back. Hopefully, you are also back for part 2 of our New Year's episode.
Mhm. You really
So,
ran.
picking off where we left off, we just finished our predictions for the year. We've spoken about AI, tech in general, stock, and investing. So, we are going to switch to the local
Nigeria.
Nigeria. So, what do you see investing in Nigeria markets, the landscape? The NGX crossed, is it 100 trillion naira
Yeah.
volume last year? So that was an incredible milestone. Our president, President Tinubu, congratulated the NGX for doing that. Also encouraging Nigerians to keep on investing in Nigeria. And yeah, so what do you see happening in markets, Nigeria, investing? What's up?
Yeah. So the thing about investing in Nigeria is there's the potential for a lot of gains, and especially right now, given the current state. And what I always do, you see where the billionaires are moving. You see how they are moving. You see their risk appetite, and it signals what is to come. So I think this year will be very good. However, a note of caution: the way the current Nigerian exchange is structured, I'm not very confident in how, you know, transactions are done, in the sense that I don't, without saying too much, believe that of course there are gains there and there's opportunity. However, if you don't know, you can lose out. That's what I'm just saying. Because I saw someone very recently, after it was announced that Otedola pulled out of Jeremy Power. Someone was like,
Yeah.
I invested because of you. I was like, that's the note of warning, because they have, even though typically there should not be asymmetry of information, but there's a lot
Absolutely.
of
There's
information
always
asymmetry. And that is why I'm a bit skeptical, even though of course the potential is huge for NGX.
investing in Nigeria. I mean, so one narrative that I've seen, and I think there's some value behind it, is that the banks have just completed their recapitalization, the 500 billion naira recapitalization,
Mm-hmm.
and they are all primed for growth. The bank stocks in Nigeria, for example, have performed well last year. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing with the insurance um, stocks as well. So maybe that's where people should be looking at. Following Femi Onto the last sale of his stake in the Girigu power plant, right? One narrative that I've heard is that the potential that he will be increasing his stake in
Yes,
First
bank.
Holdco,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the parent company of First Bank.
Yeah.
And just yesterday, he put out a statement where first of all, he gave kudos to the central bank and the president, and he's a billionaire. It's, of
Mm-hmm.
course,
Yes.
you have to do, you have to do all of that. You have to play the game. That's the circle that he plays in. But one interesting outtake that I saw from that was his message to the CBN, asking that they increase the capitalization threshold for
Oh,
international banks to 1 trillion naira.
I see.
Like you said, there's always asymmetry of information, and I think that's where his next play is. First Bank, First Holdco, and seeing him make that kind of requests, asking the CBN to double
It
the
has
threshold
signals
that they've just
something.
put out, right? I can see him making some big plays there. Now, I'm not saying you should go and buy
First
First
bank.
Bank, but I mean, if I had, some money, I don't think it would be the worst play in the world
Yes. Yeah.
to to try to make gain of that. He's a savvy businessman. I have his book right here, and
Yeah.
yeah, he is someone that knows how to use his networks to his strength, and he's always been he's always had access to the political class or people that make these kind of decisions.
Exactly.
Seeing him make that kind of request, I'm not saying it's going to be granted. I think it's very unlikely that it will be granted, because doubling the threshold just a year after the bank's
It
completed it
just
is just going to be massive. So, but yeah, I think maybe Nigerian bank, but like you said, always be always be cautious with whatever investments that you are making.
Yeah.
Interest rates in Nigeria as well.
I think it's
I
34%.
had some money in the money markets in Nigeria, and seeing the way it has performed versus what I had in the mutual funds, the dollar over the last year, it is, I would have made more money, right, if I had taken all my dollars and converted it to Naira at the start of the year and invested everything in Naira, or bought bonds, or put
Oh,
everything in the
really?
money market. Yeah, because first of all, the dollar has performed
Yeah,
globally, right? The dollar
of
has
course.
performed poorly. So, and the Nigerian rate has been stable. The exchange rate, Naira to the dollar, has been stable or has gained a little bit versus the dollar in that
Mm-hmm.
period.
Mm-hmm.
So the 6% or 7% that I gained on my dollar, right? I've done the maths. Like if I just sold it, converted it to Naira at the start of the year, and just said, "Oh, I'm a Nigerian and I'm going to put all my money in the Nigerian bonds or in the money markets," I would have gotten maybe 18% or close to 20% on my money. And
Yeah.
even converting that to maybe the pounds or dollar now, I would
Yeah,
be
yeah,
much
you
well off
than you are now. Yeah, what
than
about
I am.
inflation? Where does this, I think inflation is at 34% or something, or one number. I'm not sure. I think that's
Yeah,
do,
I don't have the inflation numbers, but I can
in
say
your
that
analysis.
since
In your analysis, did you consider inflation to know what
no,
the
I did not consider inflation in my analysis. The reason is because the cash that I was in my mind is not spending money. So
yeah,
I'm not worried about buying power,
yeah, 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 yeah.
So it is really money that I just take. It is like savings. It is savings. It is savings, right? That I convert to Naira and convert back to, not even convert back to dollar, like convert to pounds, because pounds is, because I have need for pounds now. So I would have, rather than doing
Dollar
the
to
dollar to pound conversion, I would have
pounds.
been much well off.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's indicative of what I said. Like it's very the Nigerian system or the Nigerian economy this year, I think will do better, way better than it did last year, for a number of reasons. One, the banking sector, like you said, and all the changes that are being made to the banking sector, and also there will be a lot of export activities that will be happening from the country. So Dangote is going to be one of the drivers of that, and even the oil companies. I think that's why Elumelu decided to go deep and purchase 20% of Seplat at almost 500 million. So he sees that there will be a lot more production, or I think he's envisaging a lot more production of oil, which means that I would have a lot more export dollars coming into the country. Hopefully, it comes in, which would then affect government spending, and that would help reduce inflation, will make market conditions much better, and will affect the general well-being of people. That is what I am seeing. It might not be immediate, but before the end of the year, there's going to be Nigerians will be in a slightly better or even much better position than they were in as at the end of last year.
My caveat to that is that it's an election year.
So that you
So
take,
we have the election, the Nigerian general elections coming in. I believe it is February 2027. 12 months from now, or 13 months from now. If you are being pedantic. I mean, there's always instability around the election period, and about what the conditions are going to be. I think you're going to see, because that's happened in the past, where you see sell off from foreign investors because there's always the uncertainty. But I do believe, I maybe this is part of my predictions for the year, although it's not going to happen this year. I do believe that we are not going to see a change in government in Nigeria.
yeah,
I I don't see a change in government coming in Nigeria, not even based off the performance of the incumbents or like current governments. No, it is based off the Nigeria that we know,
yeah,
right? With, I don't want to say, maybe 29 states being led by the APC. and the foothold that they have, it is just it is really hard. It is really hard to remove an incumbent in Nigerian politics. So
Yeah, so
I
I
don't
don't.
see that happening.
Yeah, some people are not. They're not ready for that type of change, or they are not gearing towards that type of change anytime soon. So
Mm.
it's what it is.
So the prediction that the business environment or the investing environment might be unstable or unpredictable, maybe not entirely, but yeah, that is to be seen.
Yeah, I believe it will be. I believe it will be.
It will
So
be
where,
stable.
yeah, it will be. Yeah, this year will be good. There'll be a
Okay.
lot of.
Yeah,
There'll
but
be a
I
lot.
think I think interest rates are going to start to reverse and go down. We've already started experiencing cuts, so we should see some money returning back into the economy. Um, Although the interest rates are still going to be pretty high, I don't think we're going to go into single digits this year.
Yeah, no. So what do you think about Uncle Tony's acquisition of Seplat? Not too long ago.
So I know that a lot of the reports are like Tony Elumelu purchased 20% of Seplat. So it is
Here's holding.
through Heirs Energy. So it is Heirs Energy that
Mhm.
has purchased 20% of Seplat through Maryland Prom.
Yeah.
So on the 22nd of December, there was the first announcement by the African Bank and joint announcement with Heirs Energy,
Mhm.
um, financing of $750 million.
Yeah.
And a couple days later, maybe a week later, then there was the announcement of the 500 million, 20% of
Yeah.
Seplat. I like you've already mentioned that it could be. You mentioned the asymmetry of information. I mean, Seplat is the biggest player in Nigeria, biggest indigenous player in Nigeria.
Mhm.
One narrative that was going around is the financing updates
Yeah.
was Nigerian or Africa being able to finance its own
Own
deals.
deals. Yeah. Yeah.
Its own
Yeah.
deals.
Mhm.
It is good to see,
Yeah.
but um it is still loan, right? So Tony is not backed by Tony Elumelu's assets. It is
Yeah.
secured by Heirs Energy's assets.
Yes.
We've
Yes.
seen it happen tens of times in the past where companies disappear in Nigeria and they are unable to make their payments. They become taken over by Amcon and whatnot. I do recognize that the guy is a savvy businessman. I think the play is from my own end is just, the growth in the energy space. If
Mhm.
you are going off what has happened in the international space over the last 1 year with
Yeah.
investments, there's much more openness to fossil fuels now than
Yeah.
it was 2 years ago. So investments are coming in back into fossil fuels, that is crude oil, natural gas, even the projects that was abandoned by
Yeah.
ExxonMobil or Total, I don't know which of them, in Mozambique. So it was a project, a natural gas project that was worth $20 billion, was abandoned in 2021.
Yeah.
Now it's now coming back on stream and it's
Mhm.
expected to start producing by 2029, I believe.
Yeah. I
So
think.
there's much more openness in that space. I think maybe, and I'm just thinking about it in real time, it could maybe be a short term play where seeing where the American or the global, although it's America, see where the global space shifts towards. If it is going
Yeah.
to go back towards clean energy, I think that is going to be a rapid change. I can
Yeah.
see possible divestment or sell off by Heirs Energy or Tony Elumelu in the nearest future. It's going to be a
Yeah.
short term play and it's going to be a good one. I can see like at least over the next 3 years while we still have the Trump presidency
Yes.
and with the way that they've gone with fossil fuels, you can talk about their invasion of Venezuela, the 50 million barrels that they say they are being owed or they're expecting that they're expecting from Venezuela in the coming weeks. So yeah, I think it will be a short term play. We can see a lot of growth in that space happen rapidly, and if the space does not revert, the energy space does not revert to clean energy.
Energy,
Yeah, it
yeah.
can be longer term. And yeah,
I think
what
for
else is
him,
that? I mean, at 750 million senior secured loan from Afrexim Bank, I think Heirs Energy, through Seplat should be able to conveniently service that loan, and it should be fine.
yeah, I
I think
think
it's a, I think it's a short term. That's my own analysis of it.
yeah.
Short term, possible long term, depending on how the global space moves in energy.
But I don't. So I have a slightly different opinion
Okay.
because he started acquiring oil and gas assets through his Air energies, and I think now he's just capitalizing or consolidating on that. So his own vision, I think I've heard him speak, is for Africa to be able to develop like our own resources without having external involvement. I think that's what he wants to set himself aside from the rest of doing. And because of that, they now all own about they're the largest institutional shareholders of Seplat at
Yeah.
50%. And what was even very interesting to me was how the market reacted to the acquisition. So you can tell what the analysts are thinking, what the bankers in London are thinking about. So Seplat shares joined about, I think, 10+%
Mm-hmm.
after the announcement, which could be, of course, typical before announcement, after announcement, market
Yeah,
move.
yeah, yeah. So it rallies up immediately after the announcements, then it
Yeah,
starts
then it
to
now cools off.
cool
But
down.
if it wasn't a good news for
Yeah, yeah,
them,
yeah. We
it
won't
wouldn't have
see
gone
that kind of.
anyway. So uh it might be long, it might be more long term for him. I think he wants to. It's just like how I think Otedola held Geregu for about 12 years or 13 years. I'm not sure now. I was reading about it, and it might be that kind of play for him. He bought the power plant at about 132 million, sold 750, made like a 600, according to the calculations, 600 million return on that investment. So if Heirs will be disposing of their assets, of their oil and gas assets, it might be one fell swoop, and
Mhm.
it could just be the stake in Seplat, except there's a problem with Seplat.
Yeah, yeah. I think one thing to note about oil and gas assets, I mean, we have some exposure to it, is I'm not certain that I don't think the valuation reflects the cash flow in the business. It's like printing money if you have your
Yes.
operations if you have your operations in order.
Yeah.
It is like printing money. So I imagine, I mean, of course, there is debt to pay and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Seplat raised a lot of money to acquire is it ExxonMobil assets or
Yes.
Total? I don't know which one are they. I always mix
It
up
was
those
Exxon.
companies.
It was Exxon.
Yeah, ExxonMobil, right?
Yeah.
So that has to be paid off still. But I mean, this oil and gas makes like a ridiculous amount of money. So
Mhm.
yeah, it doesn't have to be all market and valuation speak.
Yeah. So I think it's consolidation. Seplat, I think right now, I think as at the last numbers I said was doing over 100,000 barrels per day, and Heirs Energy is doing like 40, 50K
Yeah.
per day. So that's like huge,
So
huge.
net, you think they should be fined?
They'll be fine. They'll be fine. Yeah, they'll
Hmm.
be fine. He's going to buy more. That's even my own prediction.
That
He,
is
wa-
going to.
he wants to be the king of oil in Nigeria. So he wants to be. I think he wants to be the king of oil. I think he's seeing what Dangote is doing. Wants to be the king
Mhm.
of the crude, while Dangote is the king of the
The finished goods,
petrochemical.
the refined petroleum.
Yes, yes. I think that's what he's doing. But yeah,
Interesting. Interesting. So, like you said, you've already made a sort of segue to Dangote, and you
yeah.
listed, as I said, you mentioned him earlier. One of the things I said was the tail end of the year. I mean, we know about the ups and downs that he's gone through
Yeah,
with the refinery. So he says, let me quote him. He says, at the moment, our main interest is to list on the exchange so that every living Nigerian can
campus.
own parts of the refinery.
Yes.
So he hasn't, or I don't think he mentioned a timeline when it will happen. But yeah, the big man himself, I said they're going to list the refinery on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. And listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. I assume it is going to be listed in Naira,
Yeah, I think so.
of course. But he did make mention that dividends will be paid in dollars,
Which is interesting.
which is an interesting take from him. So, I mean, what are you saying?
So I think it will be to pull that off will be a lot, to be honest. And yeah, it will be a lot. Even though the current capacity of the refinery is about 650,000 barrels per day, and he
Yeah,
plans to expand to like one
over
point
a million, right?
yeah, like 1.4 million. But I think the reason why he wants to do the IPO is to pay back a lot of the debt, like a big chunk of the debt that is hanging over the operations of
Business,
that project. Yeah, so I think it was about 20. How much was it? Is it 20 billion? I can't
20
remember.
billion, right?
Yeah, I think it was 20 billion.
That's why that refinery must not fail.
It cannot fail.
That's why he's very active on. That's why he's very active on. Like, if me, you people, you want to kill me.
So his target is that in like next 5-6 years, the
Mm-hmm.
entire group is doing over 100 billion in revenue. So it's a it's a very, very bold dream and a bold ambition, and I applaud him for it. Even though, of course, he has his own interests for everything that he does, but it's going to go a long way in helping. Hopefully, he does, because there are people on both sides that anytime he does business like that, maybe he comes low, then he gradually increases the price and it doesn't even benefit Nigerians. I don't
Yeah,
believe he will do that in this case, but only time will tell, because if he's able to achieve reducing the pump price of petrol products for Nigerians, that's amazing for his legacy. Like if he can singularly do that and also make money and also help Nigerians have that stability in gas prices, it will be an amazing feat for him, and it will be, and I will really applaud him for him. I want to see him do that, even though of course there will be personal interests that I don't know now. Of course, these people they tell us what what they want to tell us and don't tell us what is behind their
I mean,
in the
there's
depths of their
personal
heart.
interest behind. I mean,
Exactly.
business
So
entrepreneurs. You are an entrepreneur,
exactly.
so
So I
no one
don't
starts any business to lose money.
absolutely. So I hope that does not impact the good that he can do. So if he can see it as a legacy project for himself, he will do well, and there's the possibility for him to do well, the business to do well, and for him to also do good for the Nigerian people in terms of like the price that people pay for these petroleum products in Nigeria. That's what I.
Yeah, I think he's already seen the reaction that he has gotten from the whole oil industry, the Pengasen, the suppliers, distributor, blah blah blah, and seeing the amount of headache that he's had to go through. I think he, at least initially, right now, is on track to do that with his own fuel being cheaper than what other suppliers are bringing into the country. The only caveat is that, so what happens when he is, I mean, Dangote Refinery is able to eliminate this other players, right?
Exactly.
So what happens? So what if he raises prices, back to, I mean, there's always that narrative. I don't know. Of course, I think there's a lot of truth in it. I've seen BUA speak on it a few times regarding the cement prices
Meant,
and
yeah.
how they are unreasonably high for Nigerians. So could it be a case where, I think this is where the government comes in as a regulator, and also as I say, yeah, this is where the government comes in and supports other businesses, other entrepreneurs to create competition in the market
This
for Dangote. And when you have people building new refineries, even if they are 100,000
modular refineries here and
production, right? This is where you give them tax breaks and whatnot to ensure that you have
incentivize
competition in the
them.
market and you don't have a monopoly that would negatively impact the people. So yeah, let's see how all of that plays out. says he wants to list on the exchange and pay dividend in dollars. Yeah, I think it's probably going to be.
I think one thing that I think one of the things people have been saying is that Otedola might also participate in that IPO. That's if he has not even participated privately in other.
I mean, you know how private businesses work. You don't have to,
disclose.
you're not obligated to disclose anything to anybody.
Mhm.
You can see with OpenAI and whatnot. But yeah, we're in the Nigerian space. He's not obligated to disclose anything, whatever other investors that have bought into the business, so far. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's not impossible.
absolutely.
If you had
Absolutely.
some money, you invest, right, in the
Yes,
refinery.
now, yeah, I will. Because at least in the first couple of years, it's going to have a lot of good. Even after, because even if you raise prices, what will mean the value of the stock will go high. So the capitalist in me sees only upside, and Dangote will fight tooth and nail to ensure nothing happens. It's too big to fail now. Even if
Yeah.
he has to be embarrassing people and putting their kids' pictures on newspapers saying they paid
I
millions of dollars
mean,
to send them to
by
school.
any means necessary. By any means necessary.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's the podcast. That's episode.
Yeah.
If you listen this far, thank you. If you listen to the
Thank you
first
so
part,
much.
this is just going to be the Nigeria part, and we're going to pull it out a couple days after episode 1. So thank you for listening,
Thank you, guys.
and happy New Year once again.
Happy New Year.